What I'm trying to show throughout this series is that Ayn Rand was not objectivist. Her philosophy was so-called objectivism. I'm saying it should have been called subjectivism because everything she did, absolutely everything, every two sentences was subjective. It introduced an observer, it introduced consciousness, it introduced perception, and so especially sensing, the senses, okay, that you must perceive, you must detect, you must touch or see. And everything is like that in her entire work. There's nothing that is not like that. And that's what I want to show. And I want to show it objectively, not subjectively. Some people say, well, you didn't understand Ayn Rand. You didn't grasp exactly what she was saying. And there's a problem there because some people interpret A and some other people interpret Z, okay? And some people say that, for example, just as an example, that Ayn Rand believed that concepts exist or somehow incorporate concepts into her notion of existence. And others say, no, she specifically said no. And so we have all these followers of Ayn Rand, they have totally different versions. And that's because they interpret Ayn Rand according to their predispositions, their biases. And that's why I'm going to do it objectively. I'm sorry. I'm not going to go in to try to interpret or try to second guess her, Ayn, right? In what she meant and what she really was talking about. No, it's going to be straightforward. I'm just going to take her statements as they are. And by looking at the whole series of definitions, you will get the idea that she had no idea about how to define terms scientifically, rationally, in a way that we can use them consistently, like in a dissertation or in a debate, scientific debate, in a rational debate. Hers was just like any other philosopher, so-called philosopher in history. They never learned how to define words. And you don't have to take my word for it. Just go into the Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy, go into the Internet Encyclopedia of Philosophy, go into the Catholic Encyclopedia of Philosophy, the New Advent, and you will find definitions there. It's just a listing of glossaries, right, of words. And what you'll find in their glossaries is that they have no definition for any word that they ever used in philosophy. Not one. Okay, I haven't looked at all of them, by the way, but I'm willing to put my hand in the fire. The tons that I've looked at, no definition whatsoever. What they have is histories of what all the philosophers, so-called philosophers, thought throughout history about that word. That's what they have, and different theories and so on. They don't have a definition. They say, look, this is what this definition means, or what this word means after 10,000 years of research and philosophizing and whatever, okay, of thinking. Proposals and whatever. So they don't have a definition that you can sink your teeth into, your claws into. You can't use any of the definitions they have because they don't have a definition. They always end all their articles like saying, well, we're still researching and this is what this guy thought, this is what that other guy thought. So we don't have a definition. And to start out with, in the case of Ayn Rand, we don't even have a definition of the word philosophy. Again, a rational definition, one we can use consistently. We've never had one. Since Aristotle, no one has ever defined, or even before him, Plato and Socrates probably, none of them defined the word philosophy. They said love of wisdom. What the hell is that? And they put anything they could think of in there. Philosophy was like, again, as they see it today, the mother of all disciplines. You can't start to think unless you have philosophy, right? What does that mean? What does that mean? Does it mean, it's like saying you're thinking. You got to think before you do physics. You got to think before you do medicine. You got to think before you do law. Well, yeah, what does that mean? It's just a way of thinking. So no, we have to define the word philosophy in a way that we can attack people who have irrational theories and irrational proposals. And by rational, I mean religion. I mean opinion, belief. Okay, so it's very clear in my case. I'm saying anyone who has an opinion has a religion. And I don't know any person on earth who doesn't have an opinion or a belief. Starting with me, okay? So everybody's got a religion. Religion is not about God. Religion is about belief and opinion. So if you're into politics, you're a religious individual. If you're into religion, traditional religions, Hinduism, Christianity, you have a religion. If you're into mathematical physics, you're also into religion, because mathematical physics only has opinions. They have irrational opinions in their case, because they turn all concepts into objects. That's totally unacceptable, at least from the point of view of physics. Okay, so here's Ayn's, some call her Ayn. His definition of philosophy. Okay, philosophy is the science. I'm glad she puts the word science in there. These are her words. Okay, I'm not putting anything in her mouth. Is the science. And what is strange about that is people contrast science with philosophy and say, well, philosophy is not science. It's like an opposing or alter ego or whatever of science. And she says philosophy is the science, whatever science is, right? That studies. Okay, so we study. And again, I have a problem with study, because anybody can study and not know anything, not understand anything. So studying is a bad word to use. I've said that in the past. The fundamental aspects of the nature of existence. I thought physics did that. I thought physics was the science of existence. And she said the fundamental nature of existence. So she's in the wrong field to begin with. Okay, I'm going to compare against my definition. Okay, right there and then. Okay, just so we have something to compare it against. I'm wearing a funny hat because I celebrated 500 years of Mr. Martin Luther, and he put his 95 Theses on a church, and I put them on university, symbolically. Okay, philosophy is the science that explains, not that studies, but explains behavior. Okay, why? Because I define science as rational explanations. So anything that purports to explain falls under science, and science includes anything that purports to explain the universe. Physics explains the phenomena that happen out there, the mechanisms, right? Causes. And philosophy has to explain something else. What does philosophy explain? Behavior. Human behavior primarily. You can include animals if you want. Okay? Why someone did something, why did someone go to war? What led him to that decision? To what is his goal? He wanted to become famous. He wanted to make money. That's philosophy. But to say that philosophy is a way of thinking, we can't use that in science. We can't use it in a rational discussion. That's where the problem is right now. The problem is people have this old-fashioned, this traditional notion of what philosophy is. And that's what they teach in the universities under the heading, philosophy 101, etc. And that's not philosophy. That's nonsense. It's known as nonsense because all that is opinion of how you should behave, recommendations. What is the best political system? That's an opinion. Is it ethical to kill an animal? Is it ethical to marry someone of your own sex? All that's opinion. All that is opinion. And so opinion leads to endless discussion. And maybe that's why philosophy is a good place to go to work, because it's got job security. You never get to see the end of it because it's all opinion. And that's why we can't use that. And philosophy instead, if we have to explain something, a behavior, then we have theories. And that's what science is about. And then it is a science, as Ayn Rand said. If you say, well, why did Napoleon go to Waterloo in 1815? Well, one guy says, well, he wanted to be famous. The other guy said, well, he wanted to be a movie star. And the other guy says, no, he wanted to rob and steal and kill people, whatever. So they have all these different theories out there, okay? And you listen to all these theories and you reach your own conclusions. But to say that philosophy is just behavior, recommendation, like a diet, like this is what I recommend you have for a diet, okay? Because I think it's good for you, I think it's healthy for you. All that's opinion. And that's why that's not philosophy. Philosophy is not just a way of thinking, a recommendation, a proposal in the sense of what you should do. No. Philosophy is why you did something. Okay, so now we start out on the wrong foot with Ayn Rand first because we don't agree on what philosophy is. I just want you to know the contrast here. Okay. What's the problem with Ayn Rand's version? As far as I'm concerned, it's here it synthesizes it. It says I've got science on the left-hand side there. It's objective and it's rational explanations. And it's divided into two branches. One is physics and the other one's philosophy. One studies phenomena, one explains phenomena, the other one explains behaviors, okay? One deals with causes and mechanisms, the other one with reasons and purpose. And the bread and butter of physics is objects, are the objects, okay? And philosophy are the concepts. Now, some people might say, well, what do you mean really by concepts are the bread and butter or the building blocks of philosophy? Well, we have to explain, behavior. And behavior goes into the mind, okay, into how a person thinks. And so that's full of concepts of relations that persons establish. So in that sense, the concept is the bread and butter of philosophy. It's not that we use the word distance for something in philosophy. It's that most of the issues that we're going to resolve by talking about reasons and purpose deal with concepts. As soon as you introduce an object and start talking about an object, you've crossed the line into physics. Now you're not explaining behavior. Now you're explaining something physical. Okay, you're going to say, for example, why did someone cross the street? And you can't go in there and say, well, he's got two legs and the legs move one in front of the other, and that's how he crossed the street. No, now you're talking about physics. You're not talking about the purpose, the reason a person crossed the street. So in that sense, concepts enter the discussion of philosophy, okay?